As Vado is escorted by security to pack, Dr. Ish pulls Tahiry into his office to drop the news on the situation.
I really, right now.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Little Black Book. You know what time it is. Talking to you guys about marriage boot camp. Talking about guys about Tahiry and Vado. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, click on that bell button for a notification of the uploads for those of you returnees. And you already know, you got the minerals, Alright, cool. So, just talking about the Tahiry and Vado situation, What's really frustrated me, I think, watching episode 6 is the lack of accountability, the lack of taking responsibility for her actions as a contributing factor towards what happened in the household. Okay, number one. Number two is Dr. Irish's response. Whilst I understand, for a safety point of view.
Number one, to make sure Tahiry's safe in the house. In order to do that today, I have asked Vado to leave the house.
And, in terms of the actual program and being legally within bounds, I can understand why he had to get rid of Vado. But I don't understand. There's another part where I don't understand, which is the way he spoke about what, Vado had done. For me, there's an issue there. Right? Number three is even some of the comments that were made by some of the household mates towards the situation. I think only...
They both were wrong. You can't throw things at people, man.
That's not an excuse. He had no right to put his...
Corrupt kind of said, you know what, but she threw apples at him. It all began to flutter into this kind of episode where everybody was kind of on Tahiry's side without actually really going back and thinking to themselves, hold on a minute, was what she done correct? And should they both be reprimanded? Because what we've seen is one side being reprimanded for their behavior, physical behavior, and the other not being reprimanded just because they didn't put hands on somebody. Like I didn't stab the blade in you, but I threw a blade at you. You know what I'm saying? I didn't throw a punch, okay, but I threw apples at you. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, we ain't gonna separate because someone didn't put hands on somebody. And in fact, coming underneath the law, if we talk about physical assault, I broke down a little thing. If we talk about physical assault here, and physical assault is a threat of bodily harm coupled with an apparent present ability to cause the harm. Okay, so there's one part of it is a threat or actual, doing the process or doing the activity. Okay, with a present ability to cause harm. Now, throwing apples at somebody's face, could it do harm? Yes, absolutely. You understand? Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? Like, it might not have killed, it may not, but if it had broken his nose, if it had hit him in an eye socket and his eye was damaged, what would he have said then? Right? So this behavior from Tahiry, what frustrated me watching her, I think at the very beginning, let's go to the very beginning. Watching at the very beginning, the situation just happened, Dr. Irish is coming over and saying, are you okay? And she's like, I
don't care if it's the weed. I don't care if you threw apples, bananas. There's never an excuse.
At all.
Never, ever. And there's just not.
Stunned and all, surprised at what happened. And I'm sure she is because, as she said later on in the episode, she's never seen Vado, behave this particular way. She's never seen him behave like this. This is out of the blue. This is new to her. She's never seen that behavior from him and never expected it from him. Here's the thing. There is only so much somebody can take. Let's be very real right now. I'm not condoning domestic violence. You guys have seen my previous video where I spoke about it. I will never condone domestic violence, but I'll also never condone people trying to aggravate people. And when they get hit by the bear, then suddenly start crying saying, I've been assaulted here. You got given what you were given out. You see, I already said in the last episode 5, and said you can't throw a chair at somebody, you can't be verbally abusive, and then you can't throw apples at someone being physically abusive, and then when they hit out at you, or even a hit in Vado's situation, grabbing you, okay, you can't then play the victim as in you've been triggered.
What you're doing right now is exactly the thing you're supposed to be doing. You reach out to the folks close to you, and you reach out to the folks who love you.
Because you were doing things before that point. Now, I get why you're triggered. I'm not saying that you can't be triggered. What I'm saying is that don't make it into a victim mentality, which is what I felt the whole episode went into. It went into a victim mentality and blaming Vado for being the only aggressor. You know what I'm saying? No one's trying to say that this behavior is acceptable. Like when I heard Tony say, obviously, yeah, but throwing apples, no. Stop right there. That's your problem already. You started saying, no, but it's not. No, stop right there. If you weren't able to condone throwing of apples on someone's face, can't open your mouth for this topic because you're not keeping the same energy. And and you know what I said, what I was going to say is that Dr. Irish, in part of the conversation, was saying that, you know, the reason why he has to take Vado out of the household is to send a message.
Him staying in the house is not an option because it sends the wrong message. It lets him know that what he did was okay, and it wasn't.
But guess what? What message have we sent to Tahiry? Because she's not learning. You see, throughout episode 5 when we watched it, the girl was being verbally abusive, throwing a chair at man, then throws apples at him. What are you saying to her, okay? And what message are you sending out to the rest of the household that women can do? I am not a person that is trying to equate things. I'm a very person that, you lot, you see my channel, you know me, I back women all the time. But I also have to say, when things are out of pocket, when they're scooter woof, you have to say it's scooter woof. You understand? It's off the charts, blood. Yeah, and you got to send it back to the manufacturer where it came to get a factory reset. In this particular case, what I'm seeing right now is a lack of accountability and responsibility from Tahiry to acknowledge her behavior in a contributing points that led up to this moment. This moment wasn't out of the blue. I'm sorry to say it. This is not, I don't believe Vado to be an abusive person. You understand? And you know me, I've always said this as well. The moment a man puts a hands on you, it's over. But here's the thing. I'm sorry. There's no way you can throw apples in my face and think that you are going to get a normal response. Now, I may not flip out, but if you've been verbally abusing me, throwing chairs at me, how much, and the brother said it, and what I didn't like, what I really detested, oh my days, I really, really detested it, is what Dr. Irish did to Vado in the when he separated him, right? Like, he set him up. When you say, oh...
Like, come on here. I've been chilling.
So she was asking for it?
Yeah. I mean,
Vado,
listen,
did you really just say that?
No, she wasn't asking for nothing.
Obviously, look, so you're saying that she was asking for it. And Vado obviously then, without really thinking, kind of said, yeah, she was asking for it. What he meant to say was, listen, he was explaining this, and Dr. Irish took the words way out, left field, scooter woof, way out of field. So what happened was that when he was explaining it, Vado was just trying to say, listen, what do you expect me to do? You're out here poking lions and bears, okay, in the chest, okay, prompting them, aggravating them, right? Eventually, a man has his limits, just as a woman has his limits. And I'm not condoning his behavior of grabbing around the neck. I can understand it now, though, as to why. Because if I've only watched one episode, where I've seen so much verbal beration. I've seen thrown of a chair and apples being thrown at a person. I can only imagine what would happen in the beginning of the fall. I can only imagine what happens at home. Now, I said to you, obviously, I watched him when they did the task in the last episode, and the way she was talking to him, I was like, blood, the belittling, you know, the verbal abuse, the physical abuse. Tahiry needs healing. Like, this show is talking about marriage bootcamp. No, we need spirit in this place. You know what I'm saying? We need some Anyala in this place. We need somebody who is going to bring healing, because Tahiry needs a whole round of healing. Yeah, at the moment where she stands, she's finding it acceptable to communicate her problems through physical beings. Now, what happened is, obviously later on, she was processing what happened. I believe this is what I believe. I believe that Tahiry saw Vado as a person who could be a container for her rage. Okay, I believe that she thought that Vado would be the one that would never do anything physical to her, so she piled on, not thinking about it on purpose, subconsciously she piled it on because she knew that Vado was her friend, and she piled it on because she believed that he could take it. Right? She believed that she could pile it on as much as possible because he had to take it. That was her friend, and he will still love her. The problem was the person had a limit to their taking of what you were giving them. All right? And therefore a reaction ensued. So there needs to be a strong healing on Tahiry's place. There needs to be a sit-down conversation. Tahiry, where is your frustration coming from? Where's your anger coming from? Why are you communicating in a way that you were able to throw apples into your man's face? Yeah? Why was it you got to a point where you can almost throw a chair in frustration? You You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about them things then. Let's talk about that healing. Let's talk about how the person needs to also take accountability for their actions and not just drill Vado for what he did. I agree. He needs to be separated. I agree. He needs to be taken out of the house. I agree there needs to be consequences for actions because you can't do that. But I also agree that there must be a level of justice applied across the board. We don't support women just because they've been abused. We support everybody when they've been abused. And so if the rules were because the fact that Vado had put hands on Tahiry, that she was no longer safe, how is he feeling safe? How is a man like him feeling safe? You know what I'm saying? That doesn't make sense. But I do believe that separation is good for them. I believe it gives them time to reset, rethink, come back into alignment. You know what I'm saying? I definitely believe that this will be a good time for Dr. Iris to get to grips with Tahiry and her brokenness. What is the source of the pain? You know, she spoke about when she was doing her negative part, saying, you know, she looks at her nose or whatever and sees that she hasn't been loved correctly. And I listen to that and I hear that, and she's you know, that's her experience. She's not been loved correctly. She's not been in spaces where she's been loved the way she needs to be loved, and therefore has created, again, like I said to you in the past episode, that's created that toxicity of what you call normal. Do you understand? It's created the toxicity of what you call normal. You understand? And so now your normal is abusive. That's what you call normal. You can't go through relationships without being in some type of abusive situation, whether it's you or the other person. Why? Because that's become your new normal. And so in the Tahiry's case, there needs to be a conversation around the source of this pain and where it's coming from. All right? Tahiry, Tahiry, has made some great points about, obviously, and we know that in past relationships that she had been abused as well.
Me in the face and it's forever crooked. Someone broke my nose years ago. I was out
physically by Joe. Apparently, I think it was Joe that was at it. Which he denied, obviously. But evidently, I don't disbelieve her. What I am saying though is that, you know, as where she is now, the way she treats Vado, like, yo, brother, it's on the cusp of abuse itself. And so I just believe that in this episode that there was so much focus on what Vado had done. I felt like almost like it was to get ratings, always to kind of show to people like, hey, look, we don't condone violence. But the truth was, you do condone it because you allowed someone else to do it. You allowed Tahiry to get away with it. So it wasn't fairness across the board. It was more of a PR, you understand? And then she mentioned obviously about feeling hurt and then feeling alone, and that she really felt like, Vado was a support, but now she feels like she has to go it alone. Like almost like no one's got her back. And I want to say this as well, like with Tahiry, it will feel like no one's got your back because obviously the best friend that you had, who's also your partner, is done you dirty, and it will seem like the world has turned its back against you. And I don't believe the world has. I really believe that, people do love you, Tahiry, and want to see you win. But we need to be able to get you to a place where we can bring healing to your life and just be able to speak to the parts of brokenness in you so that you can live a happy life. I think her and Vado could be good if they can exit the toxicity, but that requires, number one, her to also get situated with what she's facing. Vado has to also situate the fact that, and she mentioned about his drinking, and she said quite clearly he's never ever done something like this before, so this is new. But she said obviously the drinking, and I want to say this as well, Vado needs to sort out what is it that the inhibitions come out when he's drinking. What inhibitions that you have deep down in himself already before the drink. Because the drink is only bringing out to the foreground what you already had in your heart. It's allowing you to have more room to do so, right? Without fear of consequence, almost like, do you know what I mean? Your altered state mind thinks that. So you have to deep it that also Vado's got some issues that you need to deal with. Why is it that Vado, in your deep lying subconsciousness, that you think it's okay to lay your hands on a woman? Or, do you know what I mean? Or when you drink, you feel like you haven't got discipline in that area anymore. Come on. There's a reason why. Something's eating you. Something's talking to you. And same with Tahiry as well. And like I said, she obviously consistently reiterated that Vado has never done this before. It's new to them. And I get her trauma, and the fact that she's been triggered again. And the fact that she was like, she was she felt like she was having a surreal experience at one point, and I understand that. It makes a lot of sense. I think for me, just really dealing with episode 6, what I saw obviously from the Tahiry situation with Vado is that they clearly need space, and they clearly need time to recuperate. They need time to heal wounds, and they need time to just be able to be on their own, to rediscover why they got together. Number one, number two as well, also to do work. There's work to be done, because if you're able to put your hands on a woman, like he knows, it's a wrong thing. It's just, it can't run. And then Tahiry decided as well, you can't put hands on a man, whether you're throwing apples or whether you're throwing hands. Just can't be done. What's the problem here with you, Tahiry? What's the problem with you here with Vado as well? So yeah, guys, I don't want to talk too long, but I am a little bit hurt. I'm a little bit disappointed in the show for not presenting both sides and being very judgmental for one side, and not keeping the same energy and consistent. So guys, make sure you lock in, stay locked, stay subscribed. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate you. Stay, you know what I'm saying? Like, make sure you have a good night. I appreciate you guys. Stay locked, a little bit more love. Skidoo whoop!